screen, and then we shall get into it. So welcome to this course. It's a very minor course. Can everyone hear me first?
Yep, fine, Gary.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, perfectly. Perfect. Yep. Okay. For the purposes of the auditor, my name's Gary Vaughan. The date is the 11th of June 2021, and the time is 11:20. And this is my micro teaching module for, and it's entitled House of Hope. And we'll come on to what that means in a moment. So a little bit of housekeeping for you. The subject is, shall we say, it could be a little upsetting to some, but the overall message is a positive one. If anybody has an issue with that, please feel free to drop out. The training should be about 15 minutes, and therefore we should be able to put our phones on silent, so buckle in. It is a virtual course, so please be aware of your local environment for health and safety, and there will be an opportunity for questions afterwards, but please feel free to put the questions in the chat function of this Teams call, and we'll deal with them at the end. So let's get into this. So some of you will know that in 2029, I was fortunate enough to travel to Narok in Kenya to help a charity with some construction projects. When we were there, we visited a previously completed project called the House of Hope. In the blue suit on the left is Patrick and his wife Esther juggling in the middle. Together they founded the House of Hope. Patrick was a teacher, and one day a girl came to him and said that she wouldn't be in next year because she was being married off. She was 12. Patrick and the police removed her from, Patrick and the police removed her from the situation, and the intervention eventually changed his life, as nearly every week another girl was being referred to Patrick and Esther. Soon their home and the homes of their friends and families couldn't take any more, so the House of Hope was born. So what is it? The House of Hope is a girls' refuge, which is dedicated to providing a safe place for girls over the age of 11. The refuge is from child marriage, female genital mutilation or cutting, sex trafficking, and rape. In Kenya, all children have free education up to the age of 11. And the boys are usually selected for further education over the girls. In a tribal culture like Kenya, girls become a financial burden. As soon as possible, some families will look to arrange marriage, and the dowry that brings the bad dowry that they receive both helps them to cash in and also removes the burden of the girls being on the family. Kenya is still very tribal, and it is culturally accepted that girls will undergo, should we say, the cutting in preparation for marriage. It is illegal, it is unnecessary, it is barbaric, it is unhygienic, unsterilized, and mentally and physically scarring. The House of Hope is also a strong campaigner for prosecution and enforcing the law, but sadly those completing the cutting are usually close family relations, and it is not only a betrayal of that trust, but also those families will protect themselves from questioning when the questioning starts.
Gary, just to check, was there meant to be audio with this?
Ah, right. Okay. My apologies. I didn't share with audio. Let me share again. Stop that. I've done this before. Better?
Yep.
So that was a welcome dance for us. Every one of those girls was rescued from female genital mutilation, rape, or sex trafficking, or child marriage, or one or more of them. Across 15 years, House of Hope have rescued over 1,000 girls. And one thing that strikes me as amazing is the happiness and the joy that seems to be on their faces as they have in this as they start their new chapter. All the girls attend a school, are fed, clothed, and loved. They are active members of the local community, and all the girls either continue on to university or learn a trade to help support themselves. And so far, all the girls have been accepted by their families on graduation from the centre. So this is Esther. She was 12 when we arrived. She'd just taken her 12th birthday. She was forced to undergo genital cutting in preparation for marriage. Her husband was 54. But Esther was one of the lucky ones, a good Samaritan, as it says here. Called the authorities, and the authorities took her to the safe house. She is now enrolled in a school, is receiving support and love, and being trained to be independent. It is worth noting that there is backlash from, should we say, the rescue of these girls by the families. So the centre is largely kept secret. They have two centres, one in the town, which is the initial staging rescue point. There's better access for schools, and that's where they start to learn the reliance of each other in a sisterhood. It's where the clothing workshop is, and what have you, and it gives better employment prospects. And then we have the countryside. They have quite a large farm for the size of organisation that they are. It provides space, a way to heal, provides and encourages life skills. They grow their own food, so the idea is for them to be fully self-sustaining. And the last point there is quite a big one, according to Patrick. It's a space away from the families, but more importantly, boys. So if you can imagine, you've got over 100 girls there. It's not inconceivable to have some interest from the opposite sex. And this for me is probably the most powerful message. Is these were some of the girls that we met. The Cherish on the left there is now a qualified accountant. She graduated from the centre around about 4 years ago. In the middle there is Blessing. She's a trained and qualified seamstress, and is also training others to do so. So not only is there a trade for her, she decided to leave this workshop, but also she helps and runs, and that workshop makes a lot of should we say shirts for other schools. And Faith was out on the she was actually managing the farm, but she's got a master's degree in economics and was just biding her time for the best job. So changing the world. So one thing that I really struggled with was why was FGM done? Why was it necessary? And I was told it was culturally acceptable for women to have that, and it was also culturally sex was for women was not to be pleasurable, and those not cut were seen to be dirty. And also, and this was quite telling, is in a polygamist culture, it discouraged multiple wives from having sex or wanting sex, which I found abhorrent, to be fair. And as you can see, there is a huge amount of pressure to outlaw this, and the largest tribe in Kenya, the Maasai, have outlawed it for many years now. And recently, as you can see in the tweet there, the Samburu elders declared an end to FGM. So yeah, there is much more to be done in changing the situation, but the work of this refugees like House of Hope, their fruit and their voice are changing lives. Are there any questions?
Nice dad dancing.
You like that, do you? Yeah, it
Yeah.
went down
I
a
really
storm.
liked it too.
It went down a storm.
I'm sure I said an hour ago I don't ever want to see you dance.
I did say wait and see, didn't I?
I take it back. I'm really glad I did.
That's
I've got a
No.
question. What kind of drew you to this, Garrett? How did you start getting involved with this?
Many of you, most of you know that I'm a Christian, and my idea of not a good time, but using my skills was to go on mission. So I've been on, I've been to 5 or 6 different countries, largely doing construction work. So I've been to Mexico, Romania, Belarus, and now Kenya. Always doing it was just a wonderful way of being able to travel and to make a difference. And I was fortunate enough with this mission to be able to go and visit previously supported projects, and this was something that really touched my heart.
That's great.
Any questions? Any more?
It was just very, very informative. I must admit, I didn't know anything about this really. I've heard of it, but didn't know it went on in Kenya, for example.
Yeah, I hope what I mean, I've got a son, but I've got young nieces that would be either expected to go through this or would have gone through this should they have been in a different culture, and to think of the suffering and the pain and for what we in the West would feel is a totally unnecessary procedure.
So-
There's no medical support, or it's all cultural.
So where does it come from, the culture or the religion?
They're one in the same, in my opinion. I think culture and a lot of the culture comes from tribalism, and that is their religion. So a Maasai tribe would have different beliefs than the Samburu tribe, for instance, but they all seem to revolve around that that several core principles. Yeah.
And do we have multiple countries doing this? I'm
Yes.
assuming we do, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Not just
It's
Kenya.
very prevalent in Middle Eastern countries as well. It's something. It's certain Muslim cultures will also expect.
Happens in this country.
Yeah.
Institutions here.
Yeah, there have been several prosecutions here, and those that have been prosecuted have either been mosque elders and family members who have done the deed, shall we say? So there is an assessment, unless there are any other questions. There is an assessment, and bear with me. I shall paste it into the chat. I've hopefully been able to find this end of course assessment. Let me get.
I know it was mainly about the FGM side, Gary, but I think the thought of that 12-year-old girl being essentially sold off to a man in his late 50s.
Yeah.
It's one thing to, I mean, FGM, it's horrific, but it's almost on a par with something like circumcision, and they probably don't feel like they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
They actually feel like they're probably doing the girl a favour, don't they? But to actually sell your daughter off at 12 years old to a man in his 50s because you get a good deal for a sort of, I just can't culturally, or what, I just can't understand how any sort of human being could do that to their daughter.
Yeah, it's
that's not you can't use culture. They can't use culture as an excuse. There, cultural for FGM, yeah, fair enough. But selling your daughter to an old man, knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, but for instance, there's no contraception. So if they have a family of say 5, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to condone it, but if they've got a family of 5 on a limited income, you would it's almost like you choose your favorite child. And if there's a girl, then it's almost seen as a payday.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I've put in a very quick assessment. So if you could rattle through that, that would be helpful. So one, as you're doing that, one thing that I found particularly challenging was that this was accepted and this was done by people that were in the family. So it's often a close aunt or a sister that does this. Yeah, it rocked me, to be honest, and if it hadn't have been for the work that the How to Hope did and the joy that intervention brings, I think I would have been angry. So there's that form in there. What I'll do also is I shall I've got a feedback form, and if I can just find that for you. I shall also put that in the chat function for you to complete as well when you've done the assessment.
Sorry, Gary, the final question on the assessment, I don't quite understand it. What are some of the benefits of having town and country locations?
There were, if you remember, there was a few. There were the few benefits in between the 4 photos. So we'd be looking for things like keeping away from boys, should we say, a place to rest and heal, gives an opportunity to grow food, should we say. Those are the kind of benefits.
There was an FGM iLearn course on BAM at one point.
Was there? Okay.
Which I know I completed. I think, can't remember how long ago. Years ago. I did have a quick look. I don't think it's on there anymore. That might be something worth pursuing and seeing if it can be put back on the iLearn centre.
Yeah, maybe pop it in
be...
the feedback for me, Martin, and then I'll look at all the feedback and certainly be able to take that further.
Yeah,
so
I think I'm going to get a couple of these wrong, but
that's fine.
But yeah.
What's the pass rate, Gary?
Oh, I'm sure I'll be lenient. Depends on how you cross my palm with silver, shall we say? No, it's it should be around 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, something like
Oh, gee, because I might have to listen to it again.
that.
Gary,
Yes,
would you consider going back over there to do something similar again?
I'd be there tomorrow if I could.
Really?
Yeah, it is. This I was there for 2 weeks. This was
Yeah.
this was 2 days, and I was over there primarily to build a new dormitory for a disabled school. So again, that's another cultural taboo, stigma. If your child has a disability, they were shunned and hidden away, seen as a curse. They built this school to be able to educate and to make a difference. And when we got there, yeah, they're literally teaching out of timber huts with corrugated iron on the sides. So yeah, I'd go out tomorrow. To say Africa got under my skin is an understatement. So thank you for that. I think the takeaway for me is many of us have got daughters, have young nieces that would be or could be to be undergo the cutting should they been in a different culture, and I think that's the driver for me to take more action locally. So unless there are any more questions, I shall stop the recording, and thank you for attending, and I shall see you next time.
Thanks, Gary. It was
Great,
really
thank you, Gary.
informative.
Thank you.